it's also worth bringing up that he's listening for German transmissions.
Yeah.
In Essex.
And I think you said it earlier, if this was set in Germany and he was an undercover, German
spy.
Yeah. If he was an undercover spy, the movie would have been interesting. But this is kind of why the whole movie should have written itself, because why include a US army guy, right? And why include this whole subplot of like the transmissions? Trying to find out, what all the Germans are saying. Why include it if he's in England, in Essex?
Why not just set it at the time of the actual Borley hauntings?
Yeah. Or don't make it a Borley Rectory movie and make it a war movie. Make it a spy movie.
And this is where we're getting into like the guts of it, right? This is where we're getting into the main problem I think this film has.
Yeah.
It doesn't know what it wants to be.
No, it's like an army movie, and then it's a horror movie, and then it's a nun movie, all wrapped into one with shit dialogue.
And it's also got elements of time displacement and time travel, which we'll probably get into more in detail. But honestly, if either of us can work out how time travel works in this film, we deserve a Nobel Prize.
Oh,
we
definitely.
Really do.
Definitely, man.
It is the most convoluted, mess. The director of this film honestly thought he was some big dick, big brain scientist when he was writing this. It was like, oh yeah, well, they're quite obvious they're going to interlink at different points in time in the same fucking year. You're not being clever. You're being a pretentious twat.
Keep it simple. A simple horror movie would have been great. The scares may still have been shit, but at least the story would have been comprehensible. It isn't a convoluted mess of just sequences put together. He asks her again, why are you so scared of this place? But the acting's not that great, and it's meant to be a kind of intense scene, but the way that they say these lines really just makes me not give two shits about what's being said.
Why don't you like this cottage?
You'll think me silly.
No. The look in your face, that's fear. What have you got to be so scared about a place like this?
Nothing.
What is it?
It's really nothing.
It's the rectory, right?
Because she doesn't act scared. He doesn't act interested. They're just reading lines from a script, and it's the same thing from the opening scene. They're just reading it word for word and not actually bringing anything to the table. And then he says like, "Oh Jesus, you're shaking like a leaf." She's not shaking. She barely moves. She just moved ahead to look at the cottage.
Jesus Christ, you're shaking like a leaf. What is it? Laura, please.
Please, sir. Don't go digging around in the past.
It's things like this, like they have these lines, but then they don't act for the lines. So he's saying she's shaking. She doesn't shake. She just stands there, which kind of makes the whole line of "you're shaking like a leaf" kind of unimportant because she's not shaking. And then when she walks away, another out of focus shot just for everyone to enjoy as she's walking away. Oh, I hate this movie. I hate it.
She might as well just be blonde pixels.
And then he goes to the rectory, and he's walking inside, and the nun's there, and then it disappears, and it's meant to be, oh, spooky nun, spooky, but it's you can tell what's going to happen. Like she just disappears. It's such a cliche at this point. And then he goes back home. She's in his bedroom window, and he sees her.
Kind of spooky to me.
What? Where
Like
she's standing there
from a distance. Yeah.
I mean, kind of, because you can't see her face and the shit costume. It's just like a silhouette. I think that's another good shot, but it's kind of not scary because you know what the nun looks like in this movie. If you get what I mean.
Ass, yeah.
Yeah. If that was the first shot of the nun and we didn't know what she looked like, then I would have been like, oh, whoa, that's kind of spook. But it took it all away from me. But there's this line. He's like, "There you are."
There you are.
And the way he says it, it's almost like he's been hunting her down for ages.
Yeah.
But he's seen her once.
But this fucking crippled prick is just like shambling along, just kind of like ignoring her most of the time.
Yeah,
and he's
innit?
like, I finally got you.
Yeah, I've got you here right now. He's seen her once.
He's like some kind of.
Yeah.
He pretends he's like some kind of Bill Murray-esque Ghostbuster. And in that one line, he's like, yes, I finally caught you.
But the first time that she popped up, he didn't see her. He then sees her briefly in the rectory when she disappears, and then she's then in his bedroom. It's like, finally, there you are.
Throughout the course of this movie, you're constantly wondering if he's even aware that there's a nun there. Like, he's kind of semi-aware. Like, he sees her sometimes, but most of the time, he just, like, in moments where he should see her and be scared of her, he doesn't. He just walks right past her.
Yeah, so I mean, if this scene was later on in the movie, and he's been a bit spooky about the nun, and he's been doing his research, then yeah, maybe. But the way he says it, this line makes it sound like he's been hunting her down, like he's a Ghostbuster, but he's not. He's like, there you are. He walks inside, and it cuts to the nun, and he's asleep on the floor. How did this happen? Did the nun knock him out? We don't know. We see him.
I got a new title for this film.
Go on.
Narcolepsy.
How is he asleep?
Yeah.
We don't know. We have to guess that the nun's done this, but we never actually see it happen. And another thing that I don't understand with this movie, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong because you've done the research, but it was the rectory that was haunted, not the surrounding houses.
I think there was writing on one of the surrounding houses' walls, but the rectory was the bulk of the haunting. Yeah,
that's what I mean. But if that was the bulk of the haunting, I would say a demon nun terrorizing your house is a big bulk of it. Yeah. So why? Because it's barely even set in the fucking rectory. It's just a cottage near it. So why is this cottage being haunted when it's the rectory that's haunted? Like, maybe have some writings on the walls, cool, but don't have a full fucking like a full ass demon nun coming to terrorize him, because it's not the cottage that's haunted.
I mean, the movie, a horror movie called The Cottage doesn't sound very, very scary, does it?
The haunting of the cottage near the Borley Rectory, but not quite. Some time goes by, and fucking Laura finally agrees to tell him out about why she's so terrified of this place.
Oh my god.
And I just want to give a shout out to the actress for this Oscar-worthy performance of her lifting the cup to take a drink, but her hands are so shaky. It's such good acting. It looks like shit. And surely, if she was so terrified of this place, she wouldn't keep coming back. She'd just stay away.
Yeah. Why is she mandated to be like the one person to deliver fruit baskets to the cottage that she's shit scared of? That's so weird.
It's almost
why can't Mr. Gibson bring him food?
I mean, even so, it's almost like the only two people in this town is Laura and Mr. Gibson. We don't see anybody else in this town.
We don't even see a town.
No, we see the cottage and then the surrounding like woodland area. But surely, if Mr. Gibson knows that she's shit scared of this place, and he's the guy that seemingly owns the cottage, he'd get someone else to do it. Why would she keep going back? Or even if Mr. Gibson was forcing her to do this, she can just quit. Just quit the job, get a new fruit basket service or whatever to a different cottage that you're not shit scared of. She fucking tells a story of when she sees a nun. It drags on. It's really boring, and there's a lot more like close-up shots that are just fucking terrible and uncomfortable to watch. It's really not nice to see. Like, why are they so close up? I don't know. Maybe for like dramatic effect, but it just looks horrible. It really does. Another thing that I noticed is that he's meant to be working at this point, right? But he seems a lot more concerned with finding out what this nun is than doing his actual important job to potentially help win World War II. Surely winning the war is a lot more important than going ghost hunting
Yeah, fighting a nun versus fighting Hitler. You know, there's it's a pretty tough decision there.
Laura then says she has some books, and he's like, "Oh, can I have the books? Because I need to do research on this. What's this? My what? Sorry, my job trying to translate the German codes. Don't worry about that. There's other people doing that job. No one's researching this nun." And he's reading a book, and then a picture of Marianne, the woman from the start, falls out of the book. Why? How? Don't worry about it. It doesn't get explained. There's just a picture there for some reason. I guess it's to show, oh, they are connected, but it doesn't explain how. And it's all good. No. I wouldn't have a problem with them, being like connected spiritually or anything like that. But at least make it make sense.
And at least explain it. It's never explained coherently why this picture is in the book. What Marianne is like, Miss Forrester, Marianne, whatever. What she's really doing there besides trying to get another look at Miss O'Neill.
Yeah.
It's just so messy. It's a messy, messy film.
Cut to a shot of Marianne screaming, and yet again, he's magically in bed. Again.
Yay.
I guess that Marianne scream was part of his dream sequence that we all know and love, and he just wakes up from a nightmare.
Or he just wanted a little cozy nap.
Yeah, and this is when we meet one of his superiors, right? He wakes him up, and there's this line. His superior says this:
"When your superiors transferred you to the Allied Communications Unit, they assured me that you were the best man for the job. Based on what you've achieved so far, I'm inclined to agree."
What has he done so far? He's done fuck all.
Are we talking about British stereotype guy here?
Yes, British stereotype soldier guy, yeah.
Pip, what, all that?
But when he says this line, he hasn't actually done anything, really. He said, he's heard some chatter, and, that's the nun. But he hasn't actually achieved a whole lot. He hasn't uncovered any German transmissions. He hasn't done anything like that. It doesn't make any sense to me. All we've really seen him do is talk about the nun with Laura. We've seen him do his job, I'd say, twice so far.
Yeah.
In the whole time that he's stationed there. But the rest of it's been him trying to figure out why Laura's so scared of the cottage and, what this nun is. And Jazz actually brought up a really good point, because Robert asks this:
"It would help to know what I was listening for in particular, sir."
And if he really is the best man for the job, then why doesn't he know what he's looking for? You'd think he'd have some idea of what he's trying to find, but he doesn't. So how is he the best? How is he the best man for this job? It's so fucking stupid. And again, with the close-ups, I don't know what it is, but these are the worst ones. The army general, or whatever the fuck he is meant to be, it's so close to his face. I don't know why, because it's not a dramatic scene. It isn't a tense scene. It's just close-ups of his face. But really, really close up.
Really, it's just sort of unnecessarily close British stereotype guy rambling about bullshit on a radio and a mission that none of us really care about or understand the importance of, really.
Yeah, and not only do we not understand the importance of it, but it's never shown because he doesn't really focus on his job. Like I said, he focuses on the nun.
So why would you make it a plot point that why would you try and make it a plot point that we have to get invested in? It's so underdeveloped as an idea.
It is, yeah.
For this character, that it just shouldn't be there. It should be like, it should outline it clearly, like, I am a radio transmitter guy, but there's something going on at this rectory that's bigger. It's more important. But it never really states that, because he's trying to juggle being like a radio interpreter and being an amateur paranormal hunter that falls asleep on the job.
After that, there is another flashback / dream sequence That just doesn't make any sense. It just, I mean, at this point, it just seems like they need the runtime. And there's another shit jump scare from the nun. You know, I hate jump scares, even when, I mean, jump scares in modern movies, you know, they may be terrible scares, but, you know, at least they make you jump, you know? That's the whole point of a jump scare. They're not scary, they're just meant to make you go, oh, fucking hell, you got me. But these don't even get you, they're just bad.
They just fall short or are pretty funny at most points.
Oh, yeah, it's so bad. But, not only this man, but... This is fucking brilliant. When he wakes up from this dream, he's asleep in a field.
Yeah.
So we're just meant to assume he's gone on a walk and fallen asleep in a field because he's just magically awake in a field.
Oh yeah, little hop along Cassidy Commander Cripple just hopped down the stairs middle of the night while sleeping and ended up in a field. He's so stupid.
And not only that though, but the field, I swear the field's on like some sort of like slight hill. Like is it like it's a slight
yeah, so he had to walk
incline.
up a little incline. He had to walk up a little incline and his gimpy leg.
Yeah, well, the thing is though, it doesn't matter because the gimpy leg only matters when the plot needs it to, man. You know, he can walk upstairs
fine. Can I point
fine.
something out as well?
You can.
Right, so in all of these flashbacks, right, we hear a bomb go off, don't we? And he claps his hands to his ears, he's there, he's like screaming like, oh my god, this has made me kind of deaf, right?
Yeah.
We never actually once see the injury that hurts his leg.
You are completely correct, yeah, yeah.
If anything, this guy should be half deaf.
Yeah, and then like have the nun...
That would make for a more...
Yeah, so have the nun like...
Yeah,
so he's half deaf, have the nun like creep around the place, have some creaky floorboards and actually build some tension. Because the gimpy leg doesn't add anything, and it's just there as a character trait. You know, if he is deaf, because he actually does bleed from his ear or his face or whatever, but his hearing's fine. But I do agree that if he was half deaf, it would have made for a more intense, scary experience, you know?
Because things could be going on around him, you know, all this crazy, scary shit could be going on around him, and he could be completely unaware of it because he's deaf.
It kind of, and that kind of reminds me of a Netflix film called Hush. If you haven't seen it, a fantastic movie. Fantastic.
Go watch it, it's better than this film.
But that is a movie about a deaf woman being stalked by a guy that's trying to kill her in her own home, and she has to use her brains, her you know, sense of touch, smell, everything else to try and, you know, not get killed. And it's really intense. Yeah, it's really intense. And if they would have kind of gone down that route with the whole ear injury, it would have really been fucking scary, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Really good point that though. I didn't really notice that until just now. When he's walking back, he sees bloody footsteps leading up to the house. So he does he does what anyone would do, and goes for a walk in the forest. Why? I don't know. Surely you'd want to go inside and, you know, make sure it's not a person that's bleeding out or something, or at least call the police. But I guess this town doesn't have any police force or anything like that. He just goes for a walk in the forest, but then we treated to shots cutting back and forth from him and the nun. I guess it's trying to be scary, but it's not. It's just it looks amateurish, really. All these like weird jump cuts kind of seem like something that someone would do for a GCSE media project, trying to be scary. But it's not.
None of the actors want to be in this film.
Yeah, no.
They all act as if they've taken an overdose of Xanax, and they are tired, they are bored, they don't say any of their lines with any enthusiasm. They're probably not great actors anyway, because none of them have been in anything else, really, apart from the guy that plays Mr. Gibson.
Yeah. I mean... as annoying as his character is, you can tell that he's having fun playing him. You know?
Yeah, you can for some reason. I think we should just get towards the end of the film, because we could go on like this for ages, because it really is just a sequence of flashbacks and shit filler content. Okay,
but there is two things that I want to talk about before because this video's gone on too long. We'll leave some things. This actually isn't too far into the movie. There's just so much wrong with it that we've had all this time to talk about it. But this is about max 45 minutes into it. There's two more things I want to talk about that really just made me fucking laugh. And there's this sequence, and it's so messy. It is the messiest sequence of the entire movie. He can hear something right in the cottage. We can't hear it. We just have to assume that he can. You know, he's crawling on the floor with his ear on the ground, and then a bloody axe falls from the sky.
Oh my god!
Oh, he's scared for a minute, but then he picks it up and chucks it in the shed. Then there's the nun there, and as he's holding on to the door, the nun rubs his hand and puts blood on it, but he doesn't feel it. And you just do. I mean, you can try it for yourself. If you do this on your fingers, you can feel that, because your fingers are very sensitive to touch, right? Kind of the whole point of hands, really, isn't it? But he doesn't feel it, and he's like, oh shit, there's blood on my hands. And he sees the nun. You know, the nun runs inside. He runs after it. Cut to night time. What happens in between this time jump from day to night? Don't worry about it, because good old Robert is in bed asleep again. The nun is standing outside of the house. It pans up. There is another nun in his bedroom. So I guess there's now two nuns. I don't know. Don't worry about it though. It pans in. Robert's asleep. The nun's looking over him. It's scary, right? The nun leans over him. As the music intensifies, he wakes up, and the nun disappears, and he's awake. But it then cuts to him asleep, and the nun's still standing there as the camera backs out of the room. So I guess has he woken up and thought, I'll go back to sleep? Or is it just an editing error? Because I think it's a very poor way to edit the sequence, and it's messy as fuck. It actually made me laugh. And my favourite character in the movie, man, the Austrian guy. Oh my fucking god.
Oh, you're the Austrian guy.
I did my research just to make sure. This guy is in fact British.
You needn't worry, Lieutenant. I am not a spy.
This Austrian accent has got to be the most racy, terrible, stereotypical Austrian accent. He says this like this. Every single word that says like word, he goes word.
Fantastic.
This is the word that the nun has said to you. If he was to say that.
You've been walking the grounds at the Borley Rectory. For how long? Any ideas?
Look.
If you want to turn me away, that is fine. But I think I may be your best chance.
It is terrible. And you know what I find hilarious, man, is that...
Go on.
He went for this role, right, as the Austrian guy. He auditioned with this accent, and then the director was like, perfect. Yep. He's my Austrian. He sounds just like an Austrian. No, he doesn't. It's so bad, and it's actually quite racy.
This movie does play into a lot of stereotypes, you know, as we heard the flattering British one.
Oh, yeah, I mean, and Mr. Price, we haven't gone into him too much, but, I mean, if we did, the video would be 2 hours long. But he says, dear boy, after, like, everything.
Yeah, it really does.
Like, once is fine, twice, meh, but 3 and 4 or 5 times, it's like, shut the fuck up saying dear boy. Yeah, that's about it. I have a lot more notes, but at this point, it would be very, very long. There is a lot more flashback scenes, there is a lot more teleporting whilst he's asleep, and in the end, it is resolved by Robert and Marianne hammering a cross into the floor
Yeah.
Of a forest, and they get married because obviously their connection is that strong. They've met for 2 seconds and they get married.
Chemistry and character development are not necessary.
Yeah, I mean, love is in the air, man. It really is, and it's. I mean, really, is this movie a horror film or is it just a romance film? You know, it's just a rom-com at this point.
Or a war film.
Or a war film, or all
a
of
time
them.
travel movie.
Or all of them combined into one fucking heap of garbage. I'll let you do your final thoughts, man. Go for it.
This movie could have been so much more. It could have been a cult classic on a historically haunted building in the UK. Instead, I don't know what it wanted to be. The direction of this and the quality of it is so poor, and it misses so many just like necessary things in filmmaking that I'm kind of astounded they managed to get a budget at all for this film. The director was more focused on trying to be clever and seeming to be clever than he was making a quality, cohesive film that, you know, had an interesting plot and characters with believable intentions. The writing is awful. The acting is terrible because you can tell that every actor doesn't want to be in this film. Mm-hmm. There is pretty much nothing redeeming about this film. There's nothing to like about it. You know, aside from the fact that it can be so bad it's funny at some points. But even then, I'd say that this film isn't one of those films. It's a monotonous drag of a movie.
It isn't like it isn't like a film like The Room where it's so bad that it's entertaining. It's just so bad to the point where it's boring.
Yeah, the process of actually watching this film for a second time is draining, right? Yeah. Because it's just so much of it is just crap filler and sitting at desks. Waste of potential, really. Just that's my overall, you know, consensus on it. If I had to score this movie, I'd give it 1 out of 10. Because it does nothing right.
I mean, I don't know how I can follow up from that, man, to be honest. I agree with everything that you've just said. I'm not going to repeat any of it, but I will say that it's also trying to be a horror movie, and you have to understand that it has been marketed as such. To me, it just seemed like a non-cash grab attempt, but failed miserably. The scares are ass. The story is ass. The cinematography is ass. The whole movie is just ass, to be honest with you. You name one thing, and I will guarantee that it's ass. The lighting's terrible. You know, natural lighting, like I've said, in like The Witch and the Lighthouse, is fantastic. It adds something, but this just takes away something. It makes you focus more on what the movie looks like than what it actually is about. And don't get me wrong, the story's still trash. But if you're more focused on what it looks like, then that's just basics failed in filmmaking, you know. The basics are you need to make it look good, at least, so then it's bearable to watch. But it fails at everything. And as a horror movie fan, I mean, Jazz got scared at some points, but Jazz is a little fucking wimp at some points. You know, I think she jumped twice. I didn't jump once at these jump scares. The nun looks terrible. There's actually some CGI that's done on the nun to make her eyes glow. It looks so bad still. I don't know why her eyes glow. I guess she's fucking Kryptonian or some shit. Yeah. I will, and if I had to give it a rating, I'd probably go the same, a 1 out of 10. It fails at everything. I can't. I mean, there is one shot that's good, and we've already spoke about that, where he's sat at his desk. Other than that, there's nothing apart from the opening credit scene. But
yeah, I agree.
Even then, you know, I don't think one good shot and a creative opening credits is enough to give it a fucking 2 out of 10. So that was our dissection. I wouldn't even call it a review. It was just a beating of Borley Rectory. We haven't covered everything because it would have been far too long, but if you want to give it a watch, go for it. The full movie is on YouTube somewhere. In fact, I'll link it down below because I wouldn't want you to buy it. it's not worth your money, really. So I'll link it down below. And yeah, hope you enjoyed this Quispy Flicks review. It's good to be back. Hopefully we'll be doing some more. If you liked it, give us a little like and a comment and a subscribe. We would appreciate it. Follow the Instagram, link down below. And that's about it, everyone. So, hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next upload. Goodbye.
See you later, guys.